G'day folks. Well, time for the last time that you'll see this old Hyundai engine. To give some history on this one, this is, well, the old former hot bulb, or not hot bulb, but glow plug engine. Tried semi-dieseling it with propane, which didn't work so well. If I had the time, I would have actually used the old injection rail. I had the injectors and everything wired up to go, but I would have actually used jet fuel or diesel. But just can't be bothered with it anymore. I've got better things to mess around with, and to make things better, I'm getting an old small car to mess around with, which has EFI and everything on it, ready to go. So there's always a possibility of trying to semi-diesel that one. Either way, we're going to strip this thing down completely, just for the hell of it, lighten it up, make it so I can put it on the trailer as just by myself, and also get some good bits out of it, because I want this timing gear for that electric motorcycle over there. I want to try and run a timing belt. I've got a shorter version with this, I think it's the same tooth pitch, I hope it is. But yeah, that's going to be my reduction drive. I'm going to take that off, and there's a much smaller drive at the bottom of the engine. I think the camshaft does one revolution for every 2 revolutions of the crankshaft or something. I can't remember, it looks like it. We'll also autopsy the starter later on as well, because that thing died a horrible death. It was not happy. Yeah, guess I better get on with it. I've already taken some bolts and things out. Plastic cover. 3 valves per cylinder on this one. It has 2 intake and 1 big exhaust valve. They all work fine now. This originally spat the timing belt before I got it, and they put a new belt on it and found some of the valves were still bent. Well, they'd obviously found they'd bent valves and just gave up on it. So this timing belt's new. And I just sort of whacked the rockers with a hammer a few times, and the valves managed to snap themselves up to the point where they straighten the heads out and sealed again. I don't recommend that for a car that's going to go on the road again, but it worked. And I could actually seal them again. All of the cylinders went back up to compression. So we've got to strip this poor old thing down. It's nice and clean too. It's a shame. It's a good long block. I wouldn't trust the valves in the head, but the rest of the block is really good. But it's a 1.5 litre Hyundai XL engine from a Series or Mark II XL. They're worth nothing now, so let's scrap it. Alright, some more bits are missing. Cam looks like it's in good shape. None of the rollers have seized up and damaged it. Another thing to note is there are no shell bearings in here. Cam just runs straight on the cylinder head surface. That's it. Sort of like some motorcycles and things. Once you spin a bearing on your camshaft, you pretty much scrap your cylinder head. But these are sort of a disposable engine for people who want cheap cars that just do their job and then get thrown out. That's a hydraulic roller tappet, or roller rocker I should say. Not a tappet. Tappets rely on push rods to push them. Rockers work directly off the camshaft, like that. And when I say hydraulic, I mean it uses oil feed through a little hole in there to push this pin down and keep tension on top of the, or take up slack between the tappet, or the rocker, sorry, and the valve. So there's no adjustment. You just bolt them in and they work. It's all camshaft support. That's main camshaft bearing journal. Big oil galleries. Other one there goes up to the these rails, rocker rails. Left and right hand ones evidently. Lots of springs, got some cool springs in here. Don't do this if you want to use the parts again. I'd recommend a nice big stainless steel disassembly tray, if that's the case. Get off. But yes, those are roller rockers. Hydraulic roller rockers. And some of them are stuck. Very stuck. Well, more bits of crap to throw out, essentially. They're of no practical use, really. They look kind of neat, but yeah, they're of no practical use. So, let's crack these head bolts and remove the cylinder head, and of course the camshaft. Probably nothing really wrong with the camshaft. I'm sure somebody would want it, but who cares? It can go in the bin too. Main seal. Other main seal. Okay, this is interesting. I've sort of got the head hanging off the side here in a rather precarious manner. But yeah, let's have a look. So we've got, I know this engine was sticking or had leaky valves, but I don't think they did this kind of damage. Not to mention all these pock marks. That's the end of a broken valve smashing into the top of the piston. That's on that cylinder. There's no corresponding damage on this head. It's like they've changed the head and they haven't bothered with the rest of the engine. So it's got all these dings and dents and other nastiness. That valve looks like it's got a hole through the middle and it's probably sodium filled. That's the exhaust valve. So I'm guessing they're sodium filled valves and that one's just taken a shit. Yeah, that's not right. That one there, those ones there are fine, but that one there looks like it's actually split in the center. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're sodium lined valves. But again, this piston has a ding in it, but it's got carbon build-up and other crap that even I couldn't have done with the short runs that I gave it. This engine's shat its belt way before I ever ended up with it. They put a new head and everything on it and it's just started running like shit. And evidently, they probably damaged the bores too. Like, that bore's not too bad, but I can see rust lines and things in it. Maybe it had a leaky head gasket too. Oh, I better recharge this camera. I'm going to get a brush out and scrub these pistons and things up and just do a bit more further examination. And clean the head of this valve too. Okay. A bit of an idiot moment there. What I thought were actually dents from old valves, they're actually reliefs. Evidently these inlet valves here open further than the other one and there's a risk of collision with the piston. Either that or they've changed this head and gotten, I don't know, why wouldn't there be a relief for this other inlet valve? But yeah, those are reliefs. That is damage from something really bad happening. The rest of these cylinders look alright. This one has more carbon than normal, and no, I don't think these are sodium lined valves. I strongly doubted that to begin with. But yeah, for some reason that exhaust valve had a ton of shit built up on it. No signs of the head gasket leaking. I've looked at the gasket and everything and that's fine. So it hasn't been getting coolant in that cylinder. The cylinder's clean. This cylinder actually had a little bit of corrosion and watermarks down it, so if anything that was the bad one. But yeah, the head's evidently been changed, but they just left the piston like that. So yeah, hot spots galore and detonation. Little half moon marks and things. Probably isn't the head of a valve. Maybe more like a nut or, I don't know. Normally you see hexagonal type marks from an old nut or something floating around in there. But yeah, there's definitely little indentations here and here from valves. Yeah, something really bad happened to that one. I can see why they canned the engine. It's probably detonating off these two cylinders. Hot spots there and hot spots there. And just ping like mad once it gets hot. Oh well, better strip the rest of it down. Well, it's time to attack the bottom end. Wasn't too hard to get the rest of it apart. The rattle gun makes things very easy. I was hoping to show you the oil pump, but even the bloody impact driver won't get these damn screws out. They must Loctite them in pretty serious. So yeah, they're just a gear type pump inside the cast alley housing, which also doubles as part of the timing cover and oil filter housing. Just one integrated unit. That's your oil bypass. High pressure overflow. If oil pressure does rise too high, that bypasses. Yeah, that's about it. I think, yeah, that's oil outlet, and oil inlet goes down through there, I guess. It's all rubbish. Sump's a bit nasty, but then I've left this engine outside in the rain a few times, so there's a bit of water in there. I knew about that from the start. That is for crankshaft positioning. Crankshaft position sensor goes in there. Yeah, it's all cast iron too, which is nice. not cast alley. They're a fairly tough engine, it's just people don't take care of them. A lot of people who buy these cheapo Korean cars are generally cheap in general, so they just don't spend money on maintaining them. They let things like water pumps and other shit go too long and the engine dies. Most of these failures are usually attributed more to owner neglect rather than mechanical problems. But it's not to say they don't have mechanical problems, but they're still fairly solidly built. So I'm going to rattle gun this whole bottom end apart and that'll be the end of it. Okay, I'm not sure how well this is going to show up on the camera, but it sort of takes the cake. You can sort of see some nasty little fractures in there and scabs of metal trying to come off. Well, that's this piston here, and these two big dents actually go through. The crown's a lot thinner than I thought, and yeah, the only thing keeping compression in there is all the carbon built up in those cracks. It actually doesn't look like it was leaking. The engine had compression on all cylinders, but that's just nasty. Yeah, those scabs are sticking out by about 1.5 millimeters. I'm trying to get the light in there. It's kind of nasty, but given all that, it still ran. And the gunged up valve was oil burning on the other cylinder, so it's probably got bad valve stem seals. The piston checked out alright. Well, there's the rest of them. This one here was burning oil, but the rings and everything seem okay. They're not busted or collapsed. Oil rings free and working alright. I'd say it's just bad valve stem seals. Well, that's what Brad said anyway. But that's just horrible. I can't believe somebody spent the money to get the head replaced and the mechanic or whoever did it just let that by. I mean, you throw the engine in the bin after that. It means a full reco, pretty much replace the piston and everything. Yeah, that goes on the wall of shame. I'm going to keep that one. The rest of them can go in the bin. It's a shame the bearings and everything look pretty good. It's just dirty. Nothing's down to copper. Well, I haven't taken the main bearings out, but the big ends, nothing's down to copper. They all look pretty good. And yeah, you can clearly see that little valve relief. I'm surprised there isn't two of them because it's a 3-valve engine. But yeah, that's what the inside of the crown's supposed to look like. Not like that with big chunks in it. It's clearly been leaking exhaust gas. Nowhere near as clean as that one, although I think I wiped that one down. Yeah. Oh well. It's all interesting. The mains are nice and free. I think it'd rev alright, but oh god, I don't think that piston would have lasted much longer. Oh well, final stage. We'll get the crankshaft out. There's the rear main retainer. Goes in there, or rear main seal I should say. If you've got an oil leak on your car and someone says the rear main's leaking, they mean this. Just a big lip seal, whatever you call it. And it's the rear main bearing in there. That just goes on like so. Let's see if we can remove a crankshaft with one hand and a hammer. Yeah, there we go. There's 3 of them. 4. And 5. Oh, where's the shell? Yeah. There's still meat on them. Still good. It's still good. Not now though. There we go. Crankshaft position wheelie thing. I'm guessing there'd be a magnet in there somewhere. No? Must just be through inductance or reluctance or something like that. The sensor just detects these lugs or something like that. There's a break between them here, and that'd obviously indicate a 360 degree rotation, and the little hall sensor or whatever it is, impulse sensor, or I should say proximity sensor, detects the proximity of each of these as they go around. It must be a very precise sensor to pick that up at 5,000 RPM or something silly like that. And one of the main bearings, they're not very big, but I suppose it's only a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder. Pretty good shape. And I've got a box full of bits, a bare engine block that I can carry around under one arm, thankfully, and a crankshaft. Well, that's all for that one, folks. Thanks for watching. It's going to be another massive video file to upload this week. I've got to get in the habit of just setting it to upload and then go to work. That way I come home and it's done. And hopefully YouTube hasn't screwed it up. And whoever put this sump on put a lot of goop on it. Like Sikaflex or something. This engine has been apart before, no doubt about it. They've had the sump off and they've had the head off, or they've replaced the head. Well, that's why that one's not coming out. It's got thrust bearings on it too. It's a 2-piece one with thrust bearings. Integral thrust washers, I should say. Yeah. Centre main bearing. Sort of like the Morris engine, except you get bearing shells and then you get loose thrust washers as well, which makes assembling even more fun. You got to glue them on with a bit of lithium grease or something and then stick it all together. Oh well.